Fellas, we've got a serious problem. I recently uploaded a video titled, "The Worst Bloke on YouTube has returned." Because you know what? He had returned. He'd made long-form content. He'd made videos speaking about why he's coming back to the internet and why he's going to continue posting his god-awful YouTube videos. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a video on this. I'm going to speak about it. And that's going to be that. But no, things ever since I've uploaded that video only 3 days ago have gotten so much worse. And honestly, whenever I make a YouTube video, I usually don't expect to have to make an instantaneous follow-up video to my previous one, because usually, you know, you speak about something, the person may see the video and think, you know what, yeah, you're probably right, I am a little bit of a bellend, and they go quiet for a little bit until 6 months later when they feel the need to be, once again, a bellend. But in this situation, it's just gotten to a whole new level, and we've kind of got to speak about it. Mini lad. Oh, God. I can't say the name without from my guts. Jesus. Basically, he's a big stinking nonce. He's a bloke that I spoke about in my previous video, and I'm not going to go into specifics. Go watch that video, then come back to this one, because this is a follow-up video speaking about this bloke. And recently, since I uploaded that video, he has started a new YouTube channel, a new podcast.
Is it gonna be a podcast? Maybe.
Please, can we stop making podcast? I know, like, I just have such an issue with the thing of where a bloke seems to get the need to buy a very expensive microphone and sit in a room and give his opinions to the internet. Guys, sometimes it's more than, it's actually a good thing to keep your opinions in your tiny little brain cell, especially if you're this bloke. But it gets even worse when you realise the name of the channel that Minilad has actually created is titled Good News Everyone.
Good news, everyone!
And yes, this channel is just a complete and utter rip-off of John Krasinski's channel, Some Good News. I mean, bro, you couldn't even come up with an original name. You had to steal a far better human being's original creation, because John Krasinski created this channel when it was a bad period of the world. He thought, you know what? I'm going to put out some good news to the world. I'm going to make people feel happier, feel good. And Minilad's kind of seen that thinking, you know what? There's a negative perception out there about me because of me being a terrible human being. So what I'm going to do is come onto the internet and pretend to be this all-loving, wonderful human being. I dubbed this as toxic positivity, and I will go further into that in this video and what I mean about it. But we just need to quickly look at this channel and go through it, because it truly does get even worse the more you kind of just stare at this thing. It just gets worse and worse, especially when you look at the banner to this channel where it says, if you want faith in humanity again, subscribe. Honestly, Craig, I feel like I would rather sling my balls into a cheese crater and just kind of roll around in it for about 20 minutes straight than subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's nothing less that I'd rather do than subscribe to whatever this is. Whatever this is. And faith in humanity. Why would I get faith in humanity that a bloke who is a self-admitted predator has had the right, he's been allowed and enabled to create another YouTube channel where you can probably just use that to exploit your platform even more? I would personally dub this podcast as the Toxic Positivity Podcast. Now, what is that? What is that phrase that I just said? Because is it just another millennial statement that actually makes no real sense in the English language? Probably, but at the same time, in my language, what that means is when you take a absolutely terrible person, typically an influencer, they'll get exposed for something god-awful, and then what they'll do is kind of try to rebrand themselves as this lovely, toxic, positive guy who only wants to put lovely, wonderful news out there in the world while sprinkling in terrible bits of information here and there to get into the mind of their audience. That's what a lot of influencers do, especially after they get cancelled for doing something awful. It's pretty funny to me as well, because they'll like to be like, oh, I just want to help the world and make things seem nicer. But it's like, well, you weren't doing that when you were earning millions of dollars reacting to memes. So why are you doing it now? Oh, maybe there's a reason to that. But the questions I think we need to ask today is this channel a bad thing? And I think if I need to answer that question, you're probably on the wrong YouTube channel. The second part is, why is he doing this? And thirdly, am I going to take the piss? But yes, my little cherubs, all questions will be answered in this video. But before we go into that, I do just have to put the request out there that you need to subscribe. It's not even a request, it's just a demand. You need to subscribe to the channel to continue watching this video. You won't be kicked off. I will just no longer like you as a human being. And if you don't subscribe, there is actually a slight chance that Mini Lad will appear in your bedroom at 3 AM, as I said in my previous video. But of course, terms and conditions apply. Basically, that means if you're above the age of 18, that probably won't happen. So yes, is this new channel by Mini Craig Lad a bad thing? And why is the bloke doing this? Well, obviously, fellas, yes, this is obviously a bad thing. For one, I do not believe that a self-admitted predator should be allowed to be able to create another YouTube channel. I don't even think the bloke should be allowed his main channel to exist anymore. People like to be like, oh, slippery slope, you can't deplatform people. But I say, fellas, I think it's all right when, you know, they've admitted to some horrific things, made about 60 apologies, which were completely disingenuous and proved the bloke hasn't changed at all. Because personally, I think you kind of revoke your right to a YouTube channel when you've used your million sub platform to basically take advantage of a lot of people. And I also think that on the safe side, probably best to not then allow that person to keep using that platform, because how do we know that this bloke isn't just going to do the exact same thing that he did before? I know that may seem like a bit of a reach to some people, but I think it's a pretty valid criticism. The bloke's not gone to jail, he's still got his millions. He admitted in his previous video that he doesn't need the money and he's only doing this for, I guess in his words, self-enjoyment, but in my opinion, it's because he's basically just trying to somewhat recover his extremely damaged ego. So yes, he doesn't need to do this, and I think that he shouldn't have this platform. So the fact he started another channel just makes you think, why? Well, that moves us into the next part, demonetization. Basically, there are a lot of reports out there that Mini Lad had his main channel demonetized after the whole thing in 2020. Basically, when a big situation happens like this and a creator does admit it to a lot of terrible things, YouTube will honestly usually step in and be like, all right, we do not want monetization on your channel because we do not want another apocalypse. And I say that's a fantastic thing, and I genuinely do agree with that. And obviously, if somebody is proven innocent, they can have their ads turned back on. And I think this is a good step to deplatforming predators. Obviously, I'd rather the whole shebang. I'd rather the bloke not be on this platform. But taking away his money, I think, is a good step in this situation. So I applaud YouTube for that. But with this, I do think, honestly, the bloke is starting a new channel to avoid demonetization. There was another video I saw going around this where they were basically saying that Mini Lad was demonetized, but by creating a new channel, he can possibly apply for AdSense in the future. Because when you get a certain amount of views and when you get a certain amount of watch time on a new channel, YouTube, like the lovely people they are, like to make it so you can earn money. You can place ads on your video. And with this being a new channel, with a series that was started on his main channel, which clearly did actually get quite a lot of views, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing got monetized very soon and Craig actually started to make money, which in my opinion is worrying, for one, because I don't want another apocalypse, but two, I don't really think that NordVPN want a predator making money off their brand. So yeah, two bad things there. But then we get on to the third bad thing about this channel, and that is the rebrand. Up until this point, it kind of seems that the Mini Lad channel has no connections to this channel. Yes, he did start the series on his main channel, but ultimately on this new channel that he's created, there isn't a channel link to Mini Lad. There isn't a link on Mini Lad's main channel to this platform, and it says to me that the bloke is kind of trying to branch off away from the Mini Lad branding. And why is that? Well, basically, everyone on the planet, when they see this word, thinks big stinking nonce. So obviously, he's thought, you know what? It's time to start something new. It's time to move away from that brand, which has been tarnished by my own horrible actions. And I'm going to try and be a little manipulative person by making this new platform, which is attached to only nice things and not my previous meme reaction-based content. And hopefully, some people who don't know about me discover my new channel, subscribe, and I can build a new platform, and I can get away with the consequences of my previous actions. That might seem like a reach, but honestly, I don't think it is. I think it really does show here that the bloke is trying to rebrand and he's trying to once again earn money on this platform. But I've basically watched every episode of this thing so far, and to be honest with you, it's nothing really revolutionary. It's basically a bloke just sat there for about 25 minutes, going through a few headlines, saying, you know what guys, the world actually isn't as bad as you think it is. And I'd sit there thinking, you know what, it actually is worse. It's worse because a self-admitted predator has been allowed to create create a new platform, which is probably going to grow and is probably going to make a lot of money. So personally, I think the world isn't exactly the best possible place to be right now. But yeah, the rest of this is just, I guess, a bunch of horrible, unfunny jokes, rambling, and Minnie every so often sprinkling throughout the whole podcast about why he hates social media.
Twitter sucks.
And to me, this kind of comes under the whole toxic positivity thing, because yes, he's here to spread the goodwill of the people whilst also spreading a little bit of hatred for certain things that he has in the world. And it's interesting. It's interesting that he now specifically hates Twitter and social media.
It is a train wreck in motion and you can't look away, and that's what social media is.
This is something I've noticed that a lot of cancelled influencers like to do. You know, they face the consequences of their horrible actions and then randomly, all of a sudden, oh, mysteriously, they now hate social media, which is odd because they actually didn't hate social media when they were earning millions of dollars a month and had millions of fans. They only mysteriously now hate social media and think it's a train wreck when, oh yeah, the majority of social media thinks that they are a terrible person. Now, I wonder why Craig doesn't like social media. I really do wonder why this bloke no longer likes social media. Is it because whenever the bloke steps on Twitter, he gets called a big stinking nonce? Probably. Or maybe the sad stories in the world are starting to get to him.
This is where I spend most of my days, crying.
Honestly, good. I don't know, that sounds horrible, but fantastic. I mean, yeah, there is finally some good news. Brilliant. Sorry, let's continue.
I wanted to start off with some good stories, because every time you look at the feckin' internet, it's just covered in shite at all times. I woke up this morning to an earthquake in Afghanistan where like nearly 1,000 people have died. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's 7 in the fucking morning. Can we not?
Craig, the time of day doesn't actually change that those 1,000 people died. I know it's very easy to say in your $1 million mansion, but 1,000 people did still die, Craig. And waking up at 7 in the morning in your nice bed, in your safe area, which is quite ironic because you have breached the safety of multiple people. You should feel privileged for that, and the fact you're complaining about it makes me think, wow, you're even more of a bellend. What a shock. But this is where Mini Lad actually starts to show, in my opinion, in this podcast that he hasn't grown or changed, and when the toxic positivity starts to come through. Because as I said, I can't speak English. As I said earlier, this series created to put out the good news in the world, all the wonderful things that goes on, all the little strawberries and flowers in the world, all the lovely things, whilst also occasionally sprinkling about how he basically hates everybody.
So what has been going on in the world today? I just have, by the way, if you're wondering, I have a laptop over here to the left side in case you're like, where is he looking? Why is he looking over here? Oh, I want to start with, this isn't really like a crazy talking point that I really wanted to dive into, but there's a tweet that my friend sent me. Again, like, I don't go on Twitter anymore, right? I don't care for it. I've explained why in a bunch of videos. I'm not going to keep repeating myself.
No, Craig, explain why. Explain why again. I'd love to hear. I love to hear it. Is it because, as I said earlier, you go on the platform and suddenly this bloke appears and guess what? He says, you're a nonce. Is that why? I feel like that might be why. Maybe.
Basically, I don't care about anyone that is outside what I do. If you're a fan of me, I care about you. If you're a friend of me, I care about you. If you're family, I care about you. Everyone else, you can go fuck yourself. I don't care. You're outside my circle. Enjoy your life. Get the fuck away from me.
Basically, he's saying here, you know what, guys? If you're the one person that actually calls me out for my horrible actions, I don't like you and I don't want to speak to you, which is quite weird because in that 40-minute video we went over in my previous video, he was like, oh, this has been the best and worst year of my life because, you know, I actually had to look at myself in a mirror and realise what I've become because the old me doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, maybe we need to bring the old one back because this guy, I think he's much worse. I think this bloke is seriously a little bit questionable because what you're saying here, Craig, is you don't want people to, I guess, call you out for your shitty behaviour. I'm not just saying when you message Mini Lads, I'm just saying your shitty behaviour whenever, because everyone does a few shitty things here and there. Not to the extent that you do, but occasionally people do. And you need your friends and the people that just follow you to occasionally bring you down to the ground level. It's happened with me a few times. People have said, Fraser, you were a bellend then, and I don't respect that. And I would say, you know what, maybe you're true, maybe you're right, and maybe I would learn from that. But what he's saying here is, no. If you're saying anything about me, I want you in this echo chamber of mine. I only want the 6 people that actually still like me. And to me, that shows that this bloke has not only just created a toxic positivity podcast of where he just pretends to actually want to put goodwill out there in the world, he's also not changing, and he's also basically, I guess, just trying to create the rhetoric that all social media other than him is bad. I know he doesn't directly say that, but whenever I hear one of these terrible influencers say how much they hate Twitter mysteriously after they were cancelled, I can't help but only think that they're trying to basically get into whatever audience they have remaining's brains and just kind of rewire it into thinking that they are the one always in the right, everybody else wrong. But with all of these episodes actually not doing that bad in terms of views, some of these have hundreds of thousands of views, and you may think, well, that's nothing compared to what he got last time. I'd say, yeah, you're not wrong, but to still get hundreds of thousands of views after admitting to what he admitted, it's honestly quite impressive in a worrying sense, and he clearly saw that and thought, you know what, I'm gonna take advantage of that. I'm going to start a new YouTube channel where I can rebrand, take this away from the mini blad stuff, and hopefully people forget about that brand and I can start something new and start earning more money and start getting new fans. And it starts off with him saying this.
Good news, everyone! YouTubers are doing something good for once!
I just really don't understand how this bloke can actually... He went into his room, right? He got his tripod out, he got a shitty little DSLR, put it on a tripod, sat down, positioned himself, got the lighting out, got everything prepared, the expensive microphone, although that does look like a budget microphone, and maybe you don't have as much millions as you've been saying or hinting at. But either way, you've set the whole thing up, you've set it all up, and the first thing you said was, YouTubers are being good people again. It's like, Craig, are they being good people? What have they done? Have they not messaged a 16-year-old for once? Or is that just you? I mean, I hope that's the case, but I don't know if I can really believe that. And the title of that is what he just opened it with. YouTubers did something good for once. GNE. I love that he's put GNE in the title like it's this world-renowned series that everyone will know what it is. But I guess that's what he's kind of hoping people will think. Maybe people think it's like a new version of the John Krasinski thing, which is blatantly ripping off. John, if you're watching this, you weren't really great in, you know, the multiverse of madness. I can put that aside if you just... maybe sue this guy for, I don't know, copyright infringement. That would be wonderful. I don't really like that sort of thing, but in this case, do it. Please. But going through this entire thing and watching every episode, because yes, I don't have a life and I have sat through every single episode, it kind of just makes you think, again, the bloke's not changed at all. He's not learned and he should... and he should definitely be in a prison cell. And I'm going to just keep playing random little clips because it just... I'm just sat there thinking...
But you also need to remember that we are in a very, very good position when it comes to modern medicine. I know you're probably thinking, oh, but Craig, what about the whole, fucking, you know, thing, and, oh, is making my child autistic?
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
Good news, everyone! Let's look at how the world's actually getting better in data. What do I mean by that? There is quite simply an article from Euronews.next. Is humanity doomed? 5 ways the world is actually doing better in data. If you think the world is doomed and everything is going downhill, you are wrong, but you are not alone. The media tends to focus on daily isolated events, paying less attention to the slow and broader developments that have reshaped the world we live in. Reading is fun. Sadly, this tends to paint a misleading picture on the state of things. So, let's scroll down. Things like this. Life expectancy has more than doubled in a century.
Now, honestly, when I say things what I'm saying here, I think if I applied it to, like, I don't know, Trisha Paytas or somebody who's just known for drama, which isn't necessarily a crime, I think this would be considered reaching. But here, I genuinely believe that the bloke is trying to make negative media and negative news seem like a bad thing. This is something I've noticed with a lot of terrible people, of where they will instantly criticize the media, YouTubers, people that just present things that have happened in the world in a negative sense as a bad thing. People try to spin speaking about horrible things in this world as a terrible thing in a way to kind of deflect from the terrible things they've done, because I think if they've kind of installed it into their young fans' mind that negative media and negative news is a bad thing, I think that their fans, when they see something negative about the guy saying that, will instantly turn their heads and look away thinking, oh, it's just a clickbait drama person or something like that, because I occasionally get that. To be honest with you, It's embarrassing. It really is. I think that negative media is just as important, if not more important, than positive media. Because, yeah, speaking about positive things is great here and there, but to be honest with you, half the time it does feel sometimes a little bit pointless. Not always, but I think that negative media for the most part is probably more important because that's something that usually is affecting more people. But after Craig's
is making my child autistic.
strange statements, we move on to when Craig speaks about his life and speaks about how incredibly lucky the bloke is. And honestly, I think this is probably one of the most true things Craig has ever said. He is an incredibly lucky human being.
I feel like as humans, we're all in this shit together. Some people just get a better roll of the dice than others. And for me, you know, I've had a very good roll of the dice as far as where I am in my life, both financially and just me. As a person, like, I feel very, very lucky to be in the position that I'm in. But I also know that people around the world aren't as lucky as me.
Yes, mate, I completely agree. Those people are called convicted nonces. You, on the other hand, are an unconvicted nonce, because the US justice system is more unreliable than my hairline. But after this, going into the more toxic positivity thing again, he starts to give his reasoning for uploading these videos. Just like he spoke about his reasoning for not quitting YouTube in his previous one, he goes into more specifics here, and I guess I'm just gonna show you guys.
I'm optimistic, just as a person in life. I am. Like, I try and look for the good. I try and look for the silver lining. So as much as there's so much shit going on in the world, I try and find the good in everything. It's a nice reminder. Because that's all I want this to be, is yes, the world can go to shit, but this is a nice reminder that it's not all shit. No, this is on the Good News Everyone channel. Don't worry about this little part. If it's not, I'm gonna move this series over to a new channel because I realize this channel is a meme channel and this is a very different kind of content. I understand that. And this is somewhere where I just want to have like a little home for it. So if you want to binge all these episodes, you can.
I basically, as I said earlier, and as I keep saying, see this as toxic positivity. The guy is going to create this nice little YouTube channel not affiliated with his brand in order to spread out and find people that don't know about him and be seen as this lovely, wonderful human being, and make his old fans that for some reason stayed along think, oh wow, he's so nice now, he's changed, he's different, whereas they probably won't notice the random hints of negativity throughout it, which is just there to install in their brains that yes, the places that do call me out for my actions, let's just not look at them. So I'm just going to quickly add this into the 700 reasons to why influencers should not have podcasts. Actually, why nonces should not have podcasts. And honestly, fellas, it's genuinely incredible to me that this bloke has managed to be exposed for so many awful things by so many people, and yet he still has the lack of shame. Like, the bloke just keeps coming back, and you just gotta wonder, do we need to start bringing back, like, screaming shame at people when they do bad things? Because I'm starting to think that maybe, just go to the comment section, my comment section, and comment shame, because I think that we need to start bringing back shaming people, just so they get the fucking message. I mean, it's very obvious to me that you've not changed, and this podcast is a very good representation of that. And honestly, I'm thankful that you've created this, because hopefully it's going to show whatever fans that you have remaining, some of the crazies that came into my comment section defending you, that you haven't changed and you are still a pretty terrible bloke. But to come to some form of conclusion here, please YouTube, for the love of God, just do us a favour, just get rid of the channel. We don't need to talk about it. I won't even say anything. I'll just pretend you didn't do it. We can just make pretend this never existed. It can be a lovely little end to the story. That's how we'll conclude this video. Thank you for watching, people. Please share this video. Thank you very much for the support on the previous one about this. Please like and comment. Just boost this video. And if you don't want to share this video, that's fair enough. But at least just go and share this story. Speak about it on your own platforms. I would very much appreciate it. Maybe go tweet about it on that terrible platform that Minilab likes to hate on. But yeah, I actually do hate Twitter, by the way, which is quite funny. But at least I can say I've always hated Twitter. You've always hated Twitter. But we're still ultimately addicted to Twitter. But that is the end of this video. Please follow my social medias at inabber69 on Twitter, inabber on Instagram, and my second channel, inabber live. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you in the next video, which actually I think is another follow-up video about Nigakado Avocado. Who knows? Peace out. Have a lovely day. I'm just going to interject here and say, Mini, Kenji's come along. He's got some little words for you.
Please delete your channel, Mini lad. Just do it. It is time to actually do one good thing in your life. Oh my god, please, I just want my owner to stop making these videos and walk me.
Beautiful stuff, mate. Beautiful stuff. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I am trying to hit 1 million subs. Not really getting there, but you could subscribe. That would be really nice. I'm sorry about the white bit, by the way. It's not in this recording because this is after, but, you know,